And I'll tell you one thing, staying on the recruiting side of things, as a recruiter, it is extremely difficult in the fall to track down kids that you're looking at when they're on 3 different teams in 3 different years. Half of our time is spending time trying to find out what team they're on now.
Whether you live northeast, west, or south, the best fast pitch info comes from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast. I'm Ken Kraus here once again with my good buddy, Jay Bolden. Jay, how are we doing today?
Good, Ken. How are you doing? I'm ready for summer. The weather's getting warmer. It's a good time. I'm excited for this summer coming up. Our season unfortunately ended a couple days ago, and we're out. But I had a great run this year, and did a lot of good things. But the goal is to continue next year to get further than we were this year. So. But how about you, man? How are things going on your end? Ready for summer?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if I'm ready for the heat, but I'm ready for everything else. Just, I'm doing the outdoor lessons, and the last few nights have just been gorgeous. It's like, yeah, this is why I like going outside, being out in the fresh air, hitting the sunshine, the cool evening breeze. Couldn't have been any better. So,
yep, absolutely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually heard a nice compliment about you guys. Had a new girl start one from a college. I'm not going to name it, but one of your rivals in conference. And when I mentioned about the podcast and that you were the pitching coach there and all of that at St. Xavier, she was like, "Oh yeah, they're really good. Their pitchers are amazing."
Well, whoever said that, please make sure you tell them I said thank you. And I appreciate those compliments. It always means a lot. And again, we have a lot of respect for all the teams in our conference. They can all hit well. So coming from good hitters and stuff like that it is definitely a compliment. So tell them I said thank you very much.
I definitely will.
So I want to get into a couple of things today, Ken, if you don't mind. I know we've both got some thoughts, but we're just a few days from what I would call September 1st version 2. And that is basically when the portal opens. You see all of the stuff going on and the players posting that they're going into the portal. The portal, I believe, opens up here in a few days, and it's already gearing up, as I've had some messages already from some coaches. I've got a couple players that are going into the portal for various reasons. Just wanted to get your thoughts a little bit on the portal and do you think it's a good thing, bad thing, and what's your feeling on that?
Well, it's kind of like when they changed the leaping rules in pitching. I think that there are good and bad points to the portal. So, on the good side, let's say you're in a situation where it's just obvious you have no chance of ever playing. Or maybe you're with, you thought you had a good coach and you found out the coach is abusive and you want to be able to go find a better opportunity. I think that that's tremendous. I think it's good that you have that ability to be able to go into the portal. I think that causes coaches to maybe have to rethink what they're doing a little bit. So they treat their players a little bit better instead of like indentured servants. On the negative side, though, it also means that the rich can get richer as they go along. I mean, if you're Oklahoma, I often joke about they don't even have to recruit anymore. They just, they just sit back, watch who can play, see who goes into the portal and just pick. So, there are some negatives to it as well. Certainly the idea of the competition, maybe you're unhappy because maybe you didn't work as hard as you should have and you didn't get the playing time and now you're going to go somewhere else thinking that that's going to be better rather than learning to compete and trying to go for it. So if you have a legitimate shot at playing and just have to outperform someone else, that's different. But, in my mind, like I say, there's good and there's bad to it. And I think we're seeing a little bit of both as we go along. What do you think?
Well, I think there's some things that people don't realize. What really drives me a little bit crazy is when you see some of these posts or these people posting and complaining about that. Oh, all look at all these players going into the portal. They're looking for this or that, and people need to realize that some of the cases aren't that. Some of the cases are those coaches are forcing those kids to go into the portal. So they've recruited 3 pitchers coming in. They feel that you're not going to be able to compete with them. So they're telling you, hey, you need to hit the portal and get out of here. And people don't realize that happens on a yearly basis. There are kids that are in the portal that have been forced into the portal. We have to remember that people think that when you're at a mid-major level, your scholarship is not guaranteed for 4 years. It is a yearly thing. So you have to sign your paperwork every year, I believe, sometime either in the summer or before you get back to school, basically stating that you'll have your scholarship for that year. And so what happens is some of these college coaches and colleges will say, well, you can stay here if you want, but you're not going to have a scholarship. So you might want to hit the portal. And a lot of them are forcing some of these kids into the portal, and also with some of the roster sizes that we're seeing now. And I think this is a trickle-down effect, and I think people don't realize what's happening is when you have that kind of stuff happening where we over-recruit and then we tell kids to get into the portal, what happens is that kind of messes up the next year's class, not the 2025s, but some of the 2026s and 2027s get messed up in their recruiting because college coaches are much more likely or willing to take a kid out of a portal because at least a kid in the portal has been through all of the lifting and the regiment of what playing at the Division I level does, right? Or even Division II for that. And I think what happens, Ken, is that, that then messes up how kind of the chips fall or the cards fall downward in a downward spiral. That 2026 that you may have had your eyes on may not be as important now if you can get a kid in the portal who has 3 years left of eligibility. And I think those are things that people need to keep in mind. It's not just the players that are going into the portal because they don't like what's going on. A lot of times, or some of the time, coaches are forcing these kids or telling these kids, go into the portal because you're just not going to play here next year.
Well, and I think the hard thing too is that, when they go into the portal, that all sounds good, but there's no guarantee that you're going to land anywhere either.
Right. Yeah, there is definitely no guarantee. And so when these kids are entering the portal, you have to consider everything. You may have been at a mid-major Division I, right? But you may not get any interest from other mid-major Division I's. You may need to take a look at Division II or an NAIA school. And that's okay. I think those are important things, but you have to keep all options open, especially when you're talking mid-major level. Some of the other kids that are playing at a higher level, they're looking to go to Oklahoma, to Florida State, the bigger name schools. Some of those you'll see there's, some of those mid-major conference pitchers of the year will be at bigger schools next year. You'll see that. That's how it kind of happened, but then in the other cases too, you have where some of these kids are really just looking for a really good fit. They didn't have a great experience where they were at. There were 8 pitchers on a staff and, you barely got to play because there's all these people in front of you. So I think, those are important things and people need to realize it. So to me, it gets crazy. Last year I had 3 kids that went into the portal and found homes. And this year, as of right now, I'm going to have 2 that are entering the portal, both at mid-major Division I schools. Again, my thing is, and I say this to all of the kids that I have and my clients, as is I'm with you through this whole thing. I've had you since you were 10 or 12 years old, and I even stay with them through the portal till they graduate, Ken. And I think that's an important thing. And I just try to guide them the best that I can. In the end, the decision is always up to them and their families, but I just try to guide them the best that I can, try to open doors when I can for them. And hopefully again this year that these 2 kids who are both excellent pitchers and can both rake the ball will find another home where someone has a plan for them. I always say, and we're going to get into recruiting here in a minute. It's hard to to tell people, not to tell them, but to make them realize that you want to end up where you're wanted. Instead of
True.
we all have dreams, but so I just wanted to get into the portal a little bit, get some of your thoughts on that. I call it like basically September 1st version 2 because it's going to get crazy here and it's only going to get crazier in the next couple of weeks too. So have you ever had any kids in the portal or dealt with any of the portal stuff, Ken?
I have not. I've been fortunate with it. The kids that I've had that are, kind of playing now, the ones that are current since the portal came along, I think that, they made some good decisions and they were able to do well for themselves. In the past, I've had kids that transferred for various reasons. I know that one in particular was she was at a school where I guess what she finally decided she wanted to major in wasn't offered there. So then she was kind of in a scramble to find a different school to go to. Certainly the portal would have made that easier for her. She was in that, the conference pitcher of the year category. And I think she had to scramble a lot before she finally found a good home. I think that, with the portal, that probably would have made it a little bit easier for her. So again, a positive with that. So I guess, what kind of things do you do? So one of your kids goes into the portal. What kind of things do you do for them to try to help them get through that process?
Well, I instantly reach out to college coaches. So I ask them to provide me a list of the colleges they feel that they want to go to. And then I'll start to contact some of those. I send video. I have most of my college kids will come back in the summer and do lessons with me all summer. So we'll take video there to be able to show them some of the stuff we're working on in the lessons. If there is game footage, which quite a few of them have some game footage of on ESPN Plus, we'll videotape that. We'll send that to them because the incoming coaches want to see the body of work that the kid has done. So I think that that's important too. And again, for me, Ken, I'll be honest with you. One of the things that I really try to do is if that situation wasn't great for that kid, I really try to find them a place where I feel that those coaches have the right kind of culture and are going to be a positive impact on this student athlete instead of the experience that they experienced there. I've had some kids that have been in the portal previously that they've had to overhaul entire mechanical stuff from start to finish. And it's like, well, she's been pitching like this since she's 10. Now you want her to change everything she's doing in college. Things like that. Just some things where kids are dealing with how they're treated. And I'm not saying it's always sunshine and roses, but, there's some stories that are out there that will make you shake your head and be like, how is that really coaching? It's more of a punishment-based system. So I really look for places where I can put my kids that they're not going to have that same experience that they had before. And so, and that's just through over the years of creating relationships and building rapport with these coaching staffs to be able to trust the kids trust them so that you send kids there. And I think that works both ways. I think they feel the same way about what I'm doing with the kids that I'm working with. So video, Ken, lots of contacting college coaches. And again, sometimes that's successful. Sometimes they're not interested, and that's okay. Right. But it's about really trying to get them and find them a good home so that they feel good about what they've got left, what their experience is left.
Are these all coaches that you already have a relationship with, or are some of these tall, dark strangers that you kind of have to explain who you are and what you're contacting them for?
It's a little bit of both, Ken, right? So like, let's say there's the list of the list that my kids have given to me. If there's a college coach that's on there that I don't have a contact with, I'm trying to find a connection with them through somebody else, possibly. Sometimes that's a travel ball coach. Sometimes that's a high school coach. Sometimes it's another pitching instructor, and then try to reach out through there. If it is somebody that I know that I've had conversations with over the years, either they've recruited a pitcher of mine or they've been interested in pitchers of mine. Those are people that I'll just reach out to right away. So it's a mixture of both. And, I think you kind of have to do that. Like I want wherever they want to go, I want to try to still continue to help them get to where they want to be. So whatever it takes, we just try to make the connection. And again, always sending the video and the body of work of what these kids are doing, I think always helps too. So yeah, it's a mixture of both.
Ultimately, though, is it up to the player to really do the bulk of the work? I mean, you can help, but is it like recruiting, when you're a junior or senior in college, where, you really have to be the one that takes the initiative and keeps going?
Oh, absolutely. It's recruiting version 2. It's like recruiting this time it's just a little bit more. I would say it's a scary process. Anybody who's been through the recruiting process knows the stress that you're under during that time. It's never everybody's like, oh, this and that, it's wonderful and this and that. It's really not. Making a decision where you're going to spend the next 4 years of your life and send your daughter to make sure that these people are going to take care of them is a stressful decision. And same thing again now. Yes, the player has to do a lot of it. However, I like to help where I can. If I have a good rapport with a staff, I want to make sure that I'm contacting them and saying, hey, check this kid out. Now, a lot of times too, some of these schools were already interested in this kid prior to them going to the school that they chose. So I think that there's a little bit of a connection there, depending, right? Things change over time.
Right.
However, I already know that there was some interest there prior. So I'm sure that interest might still be there. But again, I'll try to reach out and talk to some of the coaches that I know who trust what I'm doing and what the kid is. And then at the same time, the kid has to do stuff as well too. And they do it. Again, it's a stressful time again. It's like going through that commitment process again. And it's the same thing. You'll go on visits. They'll show you, you'll sit down, you'll go see the facilities. You'll talk to the coaches. They'll tell you the game plan for what you're doing. It's all that. They'll talk about what offer they're going to give to you. All of these things. It is literally like recruiting again. And people don't realize that too. And it's, like I said, you have to keep all options open, right? It's not
Right.
just simply, well, I was there, I'm going to go here. Yeah, it's a stressful time for them, and it's for me too, because I want my kids to be taken care of, right? I want them to find homes where I can just watch them on TV, right? Like that's the goal. I just want to sit back, know you're in good hands, watch you on TV, and just be proud of where you're at. And so it's stressful for me as well too, and I just try to help the families out as much as I can, Ken.
I think that's great, Jay. It's great that you're reaching out and doing all of those things and helping them out. That's something that I probably need to do more of. I need to get those relationships going. So it's one of the things I like about the podcast is I'm getting to talk to people I don't ordinarily interact with. So hopefully at least the germ of a relationship going forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I also want to talk to you a little bit about just recruiting in general, right? It's something popped up on one of the feeds on social media a couple days ago, and it was about player rankings.
Oh,
And what are your thoughts about player rankings? Are they important? Are they not important? Um, a lot of this stuff. What do you think? Is it a way for them to make money? Is it one of those money grab kind of things, or is there some legitimacy behind it? What are your thoughts about player ranking?
I think there's probably some legitimacy to some of it, maybe in the upper group or something like that. But again, it's the ranking of what you already know. So there could be a whole lot of kids out there who are better than the players who are getting higher ranked, but nobody knows who they are for whatever reason. I mean, if you're in the middle of Montana and you're a tremendous ball player, there just may not be anybody who's seeing you that can help you with those rankings. I guess I'm always of the mind of taking a grain of salt with that. I kind of have an objection to when they start getting down into 7th and 8th graders and even me, maybe freshmen, sophomores, to be putting the rankings on there. I think that puts a lot of pressure on those kids. I think that it then leads to ignorant adults saying, oh, that kid's not so good, and saying some very, very negative things that could affect that kid's psyche. I mean, their brains are still developing, and to all of a sudden be put into this thing like they are in Major League Baseball or NFL football and being ranked up that way. It's I don't know. I guess I just prefer for the players playing to speak for itself, and I don't really see the need to do these kinds of rankings. What about you?
Again, I have had kids that have been ranked, and I'm happy for that kid. However, I don't really nominate kids for rankings
Yes.
because again, I think it's one of those things that goes back to, you have a kid who's committed to, say, like, I don't know, let's say you have a kid that's committed to a mid-major college and they're a pitcher, right? And they're playing high school ball, and you have some high school ball kid who is, let's say, maybe not as serious about softball. They're playing on a local team, more, B-level-ish, if you will, right? And they hit a bomb off of that mid-major pitcher. That doesn't instantly make that hitter a mid-major hitter, right? Like,
Right.
I think people get so wrapped up. Well, she was 3 for 3 against that Georgia commit. And it's like, oh, okay, that doesn't make that kid another Georgia commit. It makes her that she had a really good day.
Right.
And that's good. And I think that's the thing, is like judging talent and being able to say, okay, that kid is good and that kid can play at this level. And again, I try to say that there is a spot and a level for everybody. I think the rankings kind of throw these kids out there. But what drives me crazy too, Ken, is you have these colleges who are like, oh, we've got the number 7 recruiting class in the country. Really? Like, okay. And then you're at the bottom of your conference. And it's like, well, you had the number 7 recruiting class in the country, but you're at the bottom of your conference. So who's ranking this random company that is, I don't know. To me, it's like each kid has an individual uniqueness to it, right? Like, to them. And coaches know what they're looking for when they're out there recruiting these kids. And I think, sometimes with these rankings, you'll go and see them and you're like, okay, I was expecting this because this kid is ranked and this and that. And it's like, softball is softball.
Yeah.
It's any given day, right? Any given day, somebody can have your number. And that's kind of what it is. And the rankings, I think it's great for the kids. I'm not trying to take it away from the kids. I think it's wonderful if they get ranked. However, I'm not one of those people that's like, hey, I'm going to nominate you, right? Because the rankings, to me, it's very subjective. Did you have to pay money for that? I mean, I don't know. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the ranking thing, because I saw that online and I was like, haven't really had a lot of kids get ranked, and some of my kids are still doing pretty good, and yours are as well too.
Yeah. I think that, when you look at the ranking stuff, it is about, who's doing it, what's their motivation for it. Sometimes you look at it and you say, okay, so they came out with their rankings, but I can't get to it unless I pay the subscription fee for that service. If they were really trying to do it as, as a plus thing, or to help kids with recruiting, or to help colleges even with their recruiting, you would think that it would be just, something that they would release in general so that anybody could take a look at it. If you want me to pay for it now, I think that now it is kind of a money grab thing. And, perhaps there's a way that I can improve my ranking, or at least get in the ranking if I pay some money. I have had kids who have been in there, and like you, I'm thrilled for them, Jay. I love seeing it. I feel good about it. I just think that, it's a data point, I guess. At the end of the day, it's a data point. It's not the data point.
Yep, I agree. Since we're on this recruiting, I guess we'll go to recruiting version 3. I guess we've got recruiting version 1 is the normal recruiting, where September 1st of their junior year.
Right.
We've got recruiting version 2, which is portal time. That's after the college season. And then let's get into recruiting version 3, Ken, which is travel ball coaches having or reaching out to kids already to be on their team next year when the summer travel season hasn't even begun. What are your thoughts on some of this? Because it's already going on, and every year I see people having open practices, if you will, or whatever you want to call it nowadays, tryouts in May when they haven't played a tournament in June yet for next year. It gets earlier and earlier every year. What are your thoughts on this? So I want to call this recruiting version 3 or V3, however we want to label it.
Yeah, well, last week I did an entire blog post about that topic. It wasn't what I had planned on doing for the week, but I started to see those notices pop up as well. And it definitely it drives me crazy, Jay. It really does, because like you say, they haven't even gotten into the real season. They've maybe played a few tournaments, or not tournaments, but they played a few round robins or maybe a double header or something like that. And then, but they haven't really gotten into the full tournament season. And all of a sudden, now here we go. We're already looking at next year's team. I can't imagine that that's good for team camaraderie. If I'm a kid, or especially I'm a parent who's paying thousands of dollars for my kid to be on this team, and all of a sudden, you're looking around saying, well, they're looking at next year's team already. There's no focus on this year's team. Why am I paying all this money to be here?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely getting earlier and earlier every year, and it causes a lot of issues, I think, with just probably just the chemistry of the teams as well too. I feel like it's getting earlier and earlier every year, and I don't think it really allows these kids to grow. Because they're always got one foot out the door already. And I'll tell you one thing, staying on the recruiting side of things, as a recruiter, it is extremely difficult in the fall to track down kids that you're looking at when they're on 3 different teams in 3 different years. Half of our time is spending time trying to find out what team they're on now, right? Because I'm not making this up. It's like, well, we're going to go see this team because she's on that team over there. You go over there and no, she's not on that team anymore. She's on a different team this year. Now you're on a different field at a different time. And it is like, again, half of the fall is trying to figure out what team these kids are on now, because again, a lot of times they have one foot in and out of the door. So recruiting even then is an issue at times, to try to track these kids down.
Well, I can definitely see that. And just, again, just psychologically, the whole thing is that coaches will wonder why players aren't loyal or why they're looking, and if you're holding open tryouts, maybe your kids are looking at it and going, oh, maybe I'm in jeopardy here. Maybe I should look and see in, May or June if I should be going on to a different team. And, it's just human nature. If you decide you're going to go on to a different team, you made that decision already in June. How much are you really going to invest of yourself when you're looking at the rest of this season? You have things, when you're going to go to Colorado in July for the Sparkler, or, one of the invitational tournaments, you're going to go to PGF or Alliance or something like that. You can say, yeah, you want to show well for yourself individually, but as far as being a team player and doing the things for the team, heck, if I've got one foot out the door, I probably don't care that much about what the team is going to do or how it places, as long as, the old saying goes, as long as I get mine, why do I care about this? Because next year I'm going to be somewhere else anyway. So it's really a tough thing, in my mind. I can tell you that when I first started coaching, we used to do our tryouts in the spring, and that was what everybody did, at least, in the area that I'm in here. We would all do our tryouts in the spring, and then, there really wasn't much in the way of winter ball at all. It wasn't like it is now, where you have so many teams playing practically every weekend starting in January. We didn't really do anything. We recruit the team in the spring, do the tryouts. Everybody would do that. Then you'd play in the spring, the summer. And then, once the season was over in August, you were done. And then it was on to something else. Eventually that moved back. It got to be where, okay, now we're going to do our tryouts in December. And then it became August. And now we're in the situation we are now, where the seasons, not only do they run end to end, but now they overlap. And it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't create the right kind of an atmosphere for the girls. Everybody talks about, we're in it for the girls, we're in it for the girls. And yet less and less, it seems like it, and the defenses that I hear, and maybe you hear the same thing, the defenses I hear about these early tryouts and all that kind of thing is, well, we got to make sure we have a team for next year. Well, that could be just there's an oversaturation of teams. People are worried that their team is going to fold. When I was coaching, and I think you've said this as well, but when I'm coaching, one of my big success measures is, do the kids come back? Did they have a positive experience, or did they come back and want to play for me the next year? If you're really worried that your team is going to fold, that all your kids are going to leave, so you got to start finding other players right away, I think that, to an extent, you got to maybe look in the mirror and see, well, am I maybe doing something wrong? Is there a better way to do things so that when my players take a look at the situation, when they take a look at where do they want to play next year, they think, man, why would I go anywhere else? This is everything I want to do.
Yeah, I agree, Ken. That's how it used to be back in the day. It's changed so much recently. You did bring up something I wanted to also get into a little bit, if you're okay with it. You talked about the Colorado tournament. I think people need to understand that, part of being, and I'm staying on the recruiting side of this things here. And I think people need to kind of understand that, you need to be at the right tournaments on the right fields at some of these tournaments. In our area, we've got some really great tournaments that are around. What are your experiences with the summer tournaments? Do you have kids that are that go to Colorado every year? Do they go to California? I know Alliance now has their national in Indiana and Indianapolis area there, I think. So what are your thoughts on some of these summer tournaments? The importance of being in the right ones.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a really good point, is you have to be on the right field. So there was, one time, again, talking old guy, but back in the day, you had the big 4th of July tournament in Colorado. And if you wanted to get seen, that was an important place to be. St. Louis, I know in the fall, they have a big tournament that a lot of the teams like to go to. But, when you look at Colorado in particular, there's the important tournament, and then there's all the other ancillary fields. If there's a bright center to that tournament, to quote Star Wars, you could end up on the field it's farthest from. So the coaches that you want to be seen by, they're not going to be at the facility where you are because you're way off. You're 30 miles away somewhere from where everything is happening, where the top teams are playing. So at that point, you are paying money to support somebody else's dreams, not your own.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Colorado is an important tournament. The IDT, I think, is a tremendous tournament that people need to make sure they're on the right fields, in the right pools too. I would say also a secondary to that, and this is back when I was coaching travel ball, is there's a really good tournament down again in the Indianapolis area I think it's called the Firecracker. And I would go down there to recruit, and I still go down there to recruit just because it's a little bit more cost efficient for us. But I'll go down there, and there's just as many coaches there. So you'll see, the Northern Kentucky coach, you'll see Morgan down there or one of her staff members down there. You'll see, years ago when Josh Johnson was at Ball State, I ran into him down there. We were talking, looking at pictures and stuff like that. And so again, I think that was a really good tournament too. It's more local, but it's a good tournament. And I think that you can get some good looks down there. Although again, you have to be on the right fields down there. I always say this, college coaches they need to be efficient. And so at those fields that I think are there, it's Grand Park, I think it is down there. Like it's great because you can stand in the center and watch 4 games going on at one time. So, and then you can move over to the next little hub and there's 4 more games going on. So, it's just really a way to be efficient. Some of those other fields that they have now are a little bit of a drive away because the tournament has grown so much. So I think those are important tournaments too. There's also a couple others that people don't realize. There's one here in the summer, and it's the Easton Rawlings Invite. I think it might just be the Easton or one of the 2 Rawlings Invite. And that's an invite only. So only select teams, but there are teams from all across the country that come there, and they are holding that one in Orland Park now, which is good. And what they've been doing is kind of using the same fields as another tournament that's going on there called the Stars and Stripes. So it's a great way to be efficient when recruiting is you can go see this and you're going to see, I'm sure Josh will come in for that from Virginia Tech, and you're going to see some of these teams from Arizona and Florida and all across our country that come in for that Easton Rawlings Invite. Same thing down in St. Louis. Like St. Louis used to be the tournament. I'm sure you remember those days.
Sure.
St. Louis 1 was the tournament. Well, now down there, they have an Easton Rawlings Invite down there. So that's kind of the bigger tournament, but then you still have St. Louis 1 that's going on at the same time. So tournament directors are doing a much better job of trying to kind of get things close to each other so that the college coaches can go see multiple players. And I think it's important, though, to understand you want to be on those fields. If you can get into those Easton Rawlings invite tournaments, I think those are important. So,
well, and I think that brings us to another topic with it too, and that's the all of the teams that are abandoning their usual names and are taking on the franchises now. So they purchase the franchise so they can get the name, so they can get those invitations and get onto those fields. What do you think about that trend?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's it's things have just definitely changed, Ken. It's not like what it used to be. I think there's some validity to some of those things, and then other things I think are, against, I don't want to say like money grabs, but it's a way for them to have to do that. I remember back in the day, to go to California, you used to have to earn your bid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nowadays it's a little different. Nowadays organizations can host tournaments and get bids out there. And, I think that things have just changed. It's not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's different. Right.
Right.
Because it's still good. There's still great high level competition, even on those fields that some of these kids aren't on. There's still really good competition. So I think that that's an important thing too. But yeah, I think things have definitely changed. I think just the whole landscape of this has changed. And I'm not saying it's in a bad way. I think social media has a lot to do with that. I think after, we talked to Ethan last week and we talked about, some of the stuff that the drills that we're seeing on, Instagram and those things. And they're just, some of them are cringeworthy. And I don't think parents know any better. And I think that's part of kind of what we're trying to do here a little bit, is help people out. So yeah, I'm excited for summer though, because it's twofold for me. One, I get to go recruit, and two, I get to go watch my kids play, the ones that I work with. And I think it's a really good, it's a really fun time for me in the summer. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely do too. The one thing I wonder with all the franchising and everything is, is there a kind of a line of demarcation or whatever, where just the talent pool becomes so diluted, or the name pool becomes so diluted that it ends up not meaning anything anymore? I know that from a business standpoint, a lot of these programs like the money that it brings in. They doesn't require a whole lot of effort on their part. They just, talk to them, cut the deals, and then those teams go off. They're the same teams they were when they were the local Sallies, but now they have the big national name going with them. Does that dilute the brand for those programs? Or maybe they're being more selective than I realize.
Ken, I think one of the things, and I say this to people all the time, every year when it comes to tryout time, you want to get into or be a part of an organization that has a track record for getting kids to the level that you want your kid to get to. Doesn't mean that your kid's going to get to that level, but you want to see an organization that's just getting it done, right? Like they have a start and they have a finish, instead of some random team out here in whatever town and they've thrown this name on it. It doesn't change what it is. And I always say, like, you want to, even the coaches, what are the coaches like? Look at the coaches who have a track record of helping kids get to the next level. Whatever level that is for your kid is what it is. However, if we're just joining some random team and we're not a part of the big part, right? Like, I'm always looking for some kind of movement kind of upwards. Like, okay, in a lot of organizations, when you get older, you're going to get coached by coaches that don't have kids in the program and that are trying to just help you and your kid get to the next level. And a lot of these programs don't have that. They'll have random dad coaching this team and random dad coaching that team. And again, that's great. But at the end result, are you playing for either the person who's in charge of the organization or coaches that are being paid with an unbiased opinion and being paid to help you get your kid to the next level? And I think people need to be aware of that. That's not always the case, right? So yeah, you have this wonderful name behind you, but you're still being coached by the same person who has been coaching you since you were that local team. Just because you have a national name doesn't make you a national team, right? You want to be playing for coaches that are getting paid to do that. and you want to look at the track record of that organization and what they're doing. And I think that's an important thing. It's easy for people to get drawn to a name. Oh, I'm playing for so-and-so organization. That's great, but that doesn't mean that they're invested in you all the way through that organization. And that's what you want to do. You want to be a part of an organization that allows you to develop at a young age and allows you to develop at the older ages too, but you're kind of working your way up through the system to get to play for those coaches who are running that organization or who he determines is another good alternate at the higher levels. I think that's something parents really need to, and players need to realize. That should be your goal, right? If you're going to be in that organization, when you finish, you want to be playing with those top tier teams, with random people, with random other players, with a coach that is there to help all of you.
All right, so I'm going to switch this up a little bit, continuing on the recruiting idea. A lot of what you've been talking about, or what we've been talking about here, has been kind of the D1 level, mid-majors, or the top-tier teams and all of that. But you coach in the NAIA. We've had coaches from all different levels talking to us, D1, D2, D3, NAIA, who knows what else is out there. Do you go to the same places that the big D1 coaches are going to look for players, or do you say, all right, I'm probably not going to get that kid who has a realistic shot at going to Florida or Texas A&M or Oklahoma or something, so I need to be smarter and find the kids that, have the ability to play at the level that we're playing at? And you guys are playing at a very high level. You're one of the top-ranked teams in NAIA.
So am I at the same tournaments that they are? Yes. Am I recruiting some of the same kids as them? No. Right? It's just, you have to be realistic as to where you're at. I think we also have to be realistic too, that some of these kids don't want that Division I dream, and that's okay.
Right.
They want to stay close to home. They understand that after softball means I have to get a job.
Right.
So I need a good education. Can I stay close to home? Can I still play on a competitive team? Division III, NAIA, Division II, junior college, right?
Right.
And I think that's the thing, Ken, is like we will get some of those kids. We have kids at St. Xavier. Like I told you, we have 2 kids this year who came back from Division I level, didn't have great experience, wanted to be closer to home. They're flourishing right now. They flourished this year.
Oh, that's great to hear.
We had a kid that was at a Division II school, had a horrible, miserable experience there, has come back home and is loving what she's doing, loves the team, loves the ability to play high level. We have another kid that came back from Division II level, and that's great. And that's the point of it, is like some of these kids legitimately could have finished their career at the Division I level, but they wanted to come home. They wanted to save some money, and they went to a program that was still competitive. You see some of the softball being played at the NAIA level, or I'll even give you a great example of a junior college, right? And I want to get one of these coaches on here from Rock Valley. Mm-hmm. Rock Valley Junior College is one of the top junior colleges in the country. They've won. Darren has won 6 World Series, right? And again, they moved up a level. They're still competing. They're in it now again this year. They are putting kids that springboard out of his program to Division I levels. And we're talking some of them Power 5, Power 4, right? And others are going to mid-majors. Some are going to the NAI. And that junior college every fall will play Division I schools, and they will not only compete with them, Ken, they will beat them.
Wow. That's
Let's say it again. They will beat them. And people need to realize, and I say this all the time, doesn't matter what level you play, the ball is still yellow, the pitcher's mound is still 43 feet, and the bases are still 60 feet, right?
Right. There's
good softball from D3. You watch the Division III, right? Hopefully one of our future guests here coming on who played at SEC was an All-American, right? She's hopefully going to come on here and tell you, hey, the softball is just as good at Division III than it is at the NAIA level. And I think, or the Division I level. And I think that's important to realize. So am I at the same tournaments as them? Yes, because you never know when that one kid's like, hey, you know what? My mom and dad went to that school. Or, hey, you know what? I want to stay close to home. You have my major. Some of these Division I schools, it's really hard to be a nurse. It's really hard to get into the dental hygiene program and do that. it's really hard to do things that are a teacher to where you have a practicum and you have a student teaching thing to do. Whereas if you're local, you can go and do that and then show up for your second game and play. And I think those are things that people do. So we want to make sure that we're at those tournaments, and we're always evaluating talent too, right? So are they, so are we. And I think yes. So the answer is yes. Are we out there? Are we going to recruit those same kids that they're getting? More times than not, no, right? Like we're not going to get that level. However, sometimes they do. Sometimes we do get them. Or guess what? They go away for 2 years, Ken, have a miserable experience, and we're like, you can come here. You can be an All-American. You can have a great experience. You can be the pitcher of the conference, right? Or freshman of the year here. Those are things that you can do. And again, and enjoy your experience. And so, yeah, we're at the same tournaments. We are definitely at the same tournaments. Unfortunately, like, you see some of these kids that are very high level players. We know that we're probably not going to be getting them, right? So, not that I don't enjoy sitting next to Hutch watching the same kids that she's watching, but unfortunately I knew that she was probably going to get that kid and we weren't going to. So, but it was cool to sit by Hutch and talk to her for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine that there's the occasional thing, it's kind of like the pretty girl, never, nobody asks her to the prom because everybody assumes she's already going. Perhaps with some of these kids, that are there, they might be more open to it. They might be more available. Nobody's asked them yet. They may think I'd like to have the college experience, the full college experience, not the D1 where it's basically your job and, you're responsible for it. And like you were talking about with the mid-majors earlier, where you say, okay, I not only have that worry about, trying to get on the field and do all of that, but I have to get my scholarship renewed from year to year. So, it's probably a little bit different when you're at a different level and, you can get that longer commitment and then you just have to perform on the field.
Yeah, agreed. It's just a different thing. And I say this all the time. Everybody's path is unique and different. And just because you're a Division III player doesn't mean that you couldn't have played at a higher level. A lot of those kids really can. It's just that they didn't want to. I have one quick story of a kid who honestly I felt like could have been probably a mid-major Division I pitcher. But the thing with that is there was only 3 schools in the country that had her major.
Yeah.
And all three of those schools were Division III. And she got into her first choice that had her major. And I was just as happy for that kid as I was for any of my kids who've committed to the Division I level, because that kid understands at the end of this whole thing, this is what's going to help her get her job in the field and in her passion that she wants to do. And I think those are the important things. It's easy to get wrapped up in what Rob talks about, the fear of missing out, right? Or, the fear of other people doing, this kid's doing this and doing that, and my kid's not doing that. Your journey's different. Enjoy your journey. It's a different journey. It still can be a very successful one if you let it be.
Yeah, I think if you take the ego out of it and say, okay, we're not competing against other people for whose kid is the highest ranked or whose kid is this or that. It's at the end of the day, this is supposed to be something that's an enjoyable experience. Dare I use the F word, fun. It even at the collegiate level, even at the highest collegiate level, it has to be fun. If it's just always a grind, why would you do that? There's no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow other than the satisfaction of having done it. You are not going to make a living as a pro softball player. Even if you're the highest level type of player, you'll make an okay living if you go to play in Japan or somewhere like that. But, that's the very rare, the top of the top of the top. Even if you are, if you're playing softball in college, that's a tremendous accomplishment. And it's a wonderful thing that you did. But when your playing eligibility is up, you're going to go have to find a job in something else. And it better be something that you're going to like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I couldn't agree more. I'm always looking at the end of the road for them, like, hey, this is where you gotta be. Like, this is what you want. You want that minimal debt, and you want, when you walk across that stage, and you want to be able to then take your degree and go do something great with it. So I think those are all important things as well too. I'm excited for this summer too. My daughter, I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit, Ken, but my daughter's decided she wants to try out for the all-star team. Our tryouts are on
nice.
Saturday. Yeah, so she's starting to feel the fever a little bit again of softball. We were in the cheerleading mode there for quite a while, and I was supporting that, doing tumbling classes and cheerleading stuff, and I'll support whatever she wants to do. But she's having a blast on her softball team right now. She's going to try out for All Stars, which is tryouts are this Saturday, and I'm excited for her. And she's been hitting the ball. She had 2 hits yesterday at her game, which were decent hits for 10U rec ball. So I'm excited. She's been working hard. She on her own put the net out the other day, and I think I was out there for a few buckets, and then decided she was going to hit 5 or 6 more buckets off the tee. And I'm like, okay, this is look out, like let's go. She unfortunately though yesterday was trying to talk her coach into letting her pitch, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen because you haven't tried to pitch in 2 years, and even there, it's no. We'll stick to playing some defense and hitting the ball. But I told her if she wants to try pitching, that's fine. So Ken, be ready because you're going to get probably a 10U student. We'll be up there probably next weekend, and because you know how this goes. She ain't listening to her dad, so she is not listening to her dad. So
it's actually funny you bring that up because I've got still have some and I've worked through the years with some of the other Poly Girls certified coaches there with their daughters, and it's the same thing. It's just basically she doesn't want to listen to me. And I get that because I have 2 daughters, and my oldest one, she had a different pitching coach. I was nowhere near qualified at that time to even try to teach her the basics. By the time my younger one came around, I was, turning into a pitching coach, and I was learning, and I was her pitching coach. But even then, it was hard to separate. She could do it, I think, because she saw other people listening to me. But certainly I did not go out and make circle visits in the middle of a game. That was, wasn't going to be doing that. But it does come up with that, no matter how much credibility you have, no matter how much you might have accomplished in your coaching career, none of that means anything in your own household.
Very true. Very true. Awesome, man. Well, any other topics you want to cover for today? I think we've covered quite a bit, so I'm feeling pretty good. You got anything else you want to throw out there, or you want to cover? Or
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think we've covered a lot of the recruiting stuff. We ended up kind of accidentally with a theme, or at least a broad theme with it. I guess here's one other thought. And we had talked about the open tryouts kind of thing, but what about coaches going around and actively trying to recruit someone off of another travel team? So, they see kids that they're interested in, and then they start sidling up and trying to, just basically steal kids who are presumably happy on the teams they're on.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't that happen at the highest level? I mean, think of some of the highest programs out there in our area.
Yeah.
Aren't they really kind of just taking kids as they go along? Right? I mean, some have probably been in the organization for a long time, or, I mean, you've got kids on some of these organizations that, are getting taken from this organization to go play for that organization because it's got a bigger name or so on or so forth. I think that's been happening for quite a few years. I just think it's a little bit more rampant now, where it's more equal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
more of a sideways
there's always
move.
been this kind of, yeah. I think it's been more of a sideways move. Now, or at least nowadays, it's more of a sideways move.
Yeah.
And,
I guess it doesn't bother you as much as if, someone is, if it's an opportunity for a kid to step up and to play at a higher level and play with kids who are more, in the mindset of what she is. It's another thing, maybe for some of the lower level teams to be going around just rather than training their players, they're just trying to let somebody else train them and then build their team off of something like that with all kinds of big promises but they're never going to develop those kids. I guess those are the ones that, that I wonder about.
Yeah. And I'm saying a lot of these organizations are talking about the development of some of these kids. And it's like, well, she's been on 5 different organizations. So who's responsible for her development, right? Like which one of you gets the credit? Well, usually all 5 take credit anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And, I think that's what I enjoy about being an instructor, Ken, is we see some of these kids that we've had since 10 or 12 years old, and now they're moving on to play Division I college softball, right? Like I'm not the only one who's responsible for her development, but I sure did play a large part in it, right? And at the same time, so did the organization and organizations that she played on. They are also responsible for that because they've got to be playing against the right people for the right people to be seeing her do that. So, but I feel, I've been a teacher for a long time, and I'm going to tell you this. This is the honest truth. I feel more gratitude when I'm at a kid's signing day, right? I enjoy being a teacher a lot. There's a lot of things that make me feel really good. I feel gratitude about, but the signing day is just awesome. You've just really helped some kid achieve a dream of theirs. And I think that's an important thing. And that's why I just try to invest in every one of my kids. I don't always take everybody who reaches out for lessons because one, I don't have the time or the space, as you know. And two, I'm more focused on I don't do dual lessons. I'm a one-on-one person all the way through it. And that's just, I just feel like there's more of a rapport there. That's just for me. There are people who do multiple kids at a time, and good for them.
Yeah.
Right. But for me, it's more about like, I'm in, like I'm all in. If you're all in, I'm all in, and we'll go that. But it's such a wonderful thing, a great feeling when you're there and you see that kid and their family signing that letter to go play in college. You're just like, man, there's a lot of hard work that got us here, but man, it's so rewarding for that. And I think that's what drives me, right? Like, I think that's what I wake up and I enjoy my job being a teacher tremendously. I love it. It's a great job. And I really enjoy the kids I teach. But at the same time too, man, when I get to my facility, I enjoy that just as much. And so it's rewarding. But yeah, I think, people pull in. Go ahead, Ken. I didn't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I feel the same way that, when I see that happen, the signing day is always a big thing, but it's even the texts that you get or the messenger messages that you get about, hey, my daughter's really been doing well. She's been killing it in our high school season, or she had this travel tournament over the weekend and the things that you've been working on really came together for her. If she's pitching that, instead of having 7 walks and giving up 10 hits, she gave up, 1 walk and 2 hits and had 8 strikeouts and was really feeling good about herself. And she was so happy. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's what drives us more than anything else. I want kids to love the sport. I want them to have a great experience, and I want them to be happy with the choice of playing softball, happy with their performance. They feel good about themselves as a human being, and who knows what kind of benefits are going to, explode out of that. Just the fact that they were happy with themselves as a person, and it goes on to help them do a lot of other things.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. You said it. It's the number one thing I think that drives us both. We're there through that experience with them. So that's fantastic. Yeah, hopefully people are listening and take some notes from today. And we talked a lot about recruiting and the portal and these tournaments and, poaching kids from team to team. Hopefully people taking some notes and make at least some mental notes, if you will. So
yeah. And, again, if you're in a situation where it's not a good fit, no matter what level you're at, if you're at 10 and under or a Power 5 Division I school, you have to take a look at it and you have to say, all right, what are my options? What would be better for my daughter? Or if you're old enough, what would be better for me? There will be times when you have to look in the mirror and say, am I giving this everything I have? But if you are, again, you take the younger team, you take a 12U team, and you've got a kid who's really dedicated and she's taking lessons and or even just working on her own with her parents, and she's out there, like you said, hitting 5 more buckets of balls just because she wants to and wants to get better. And she's on a team with a bunch of kids that, won't go and catch a fly ball. They'll just let it drop in front of them because, they don't want to put the effort or they're not going to run after a ball and all of that. You're in the wrong situation. Go seek out your level.
Yep. Absolutely. Fantastic. All right, Ken, I think we got it for today. How about you?
Yeah, I think so. hopefully we've given people some food for thought. And even if you disagree with what our points are, it's something to think about. You can always leave us a comment on your thoughts. We do check the comments on Spotify and Apple and everywhere else. So that's certainly an option. I guess I just want to say, Jay, thank you for all your great thoughts on this. I think you provided a lot of great guidance from the, both from the pitching coach side and from the college coach side.
Well, thanks, Ken. Same as you, man. It's just, let's keep helping people. I think that's what this is all about, but you got some great insights and I love the feedback you always give. It's awesome. So let's keep this rolling. And I'm excited for next week already for our hopefully our guest. And it's going to be a fun summer lined up, I feel.
Yep, I agree. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate all of you. We would like to say, leave us a like. Make sure you share this with your friends so that more people can join up. It's definitely growing, and we appreciate that as well. Leave a comment. Just enjoy the experience. The weather's getting nice. And if you're playing this weekend, good luck. If you're not playing this weekend, enjoy the time off because it's going to crank up real fast. So on behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, this is Jay and Ken signing off. Have a great weekend.